Gregg, Maya, and Betty are not experts, nor do they claim to be. They're just a bunch of nerds who enjoy talking about movies, shows, and current events. So sit back, grab a coffee, relax, and enjoy a brand new episode of All Queued Up.
Hello, everybody, and welcome to another episode of All Queued Up, the review podcast tied to streaming services like Netflix, Amazon Prime, HBO Max, Disney Plus, etc., etc., etc. I'm your host, Gregg Dietz, and with me always is Maya Don Fisher and Betty Badger. How are you two doing this week?
Go ahead, Maya.
For the most part, it's been a good week, but yesterday was a clusterfuck. But other than that, yeah, things are going well. We had no internet for about 14 hours or home phone, so we had no means of communication. Fortunately, Misty does have a cell phone, and we used it to contact her sister so we could let you guys know what happened. But apparently a coal truck had an accident, and during the accident, it happened to take out the internet by ripping out a fiber line. A major fiber line, so 2 entire counties were without internet service for about 14 hours yesterday, so that was great. So we're recording a day late.
Yeah.
But other than that, things are good. How about you, Betty?
Things are good. Yeah, it's nice weather, enjoying it, and just chill. What about you, Gregg?
They're all right. They're not bad. My folks, because they're home alone now, because I'm doing the working on my own, have been going too hard and heavy on trying to get things done around the house. So now they're both injured, pretty significantly. Injured to the extent of like it just exacerbated their already, injuries that make them disabled. And so
That's the cover story that they told you, right?
probably, yeah. It's very likely.
They were banging it out.
Nope. They don't, nope.
They were. They don't have to tell you about it. That's what they were doing. That's why they're hurt. They're not used to contorting their bodies like that right now.
There are things I want to say to somewhat no proof of this, and I'm not going to say nothing. Because, nope. Anyway.
It happened. Your mom called out your name.
Okay, good Lord, man. God damn it. Having such a good morning. The worst.
I really am.
Anyway, good Lord. We're not going to review it for the podcast, but I do recommend that everyone check out Squid Game on Netflix. I started watching that like an episode at a time the past few days, and it is as good as everyone's making it out to be. If you have a problem with some bad voice acting, definitely watch it in Korean with subtitles. But I don't mind bad voice acting a little bit, but most of it isn't bad. It's just a few characters are like, oof, who'd you get for this? Yikes. But I don't want to
got Steve from around the corner.
Yeah. Much like one of the shows that we're going to review on the podcast today, I don't want to tell anybody what Squid Game is about at all, because going into it will be a surprise. It's a fun surprise. I mean, if you don't care about spoilers, more than happy message me and I'll tell you what the hell is it about. But it's a lot more fun to just kind of go in and be surprised on that one. So, but anyway, yeah. Other than that, watching what we're going to review today. So, if you didn't catch last week's, what we're going to review today is episode 8 of Marvel's What If, episode 5 of Why the Last Man, and the Netflix limited series Midnight Mass, which is written and directed by the same guy who did Haunting of Hill House and Haunting of Bly Manor, Mike Flanagan. And all right, and I'm gonna let you folks know right now at the top of the show, if you have not seen Midnight Mass, do not listen to this episode of the podcast. Genuinely,
until after you've watched it, then come back and download and listen.
absolutely. Like that's very clear. If you haven't seen it, do not listen until you've seen it. Mainly, I'll put it this way: I didn't know anything going into it. I heard Mike Flanagan made a new horror show for Netflix, and I was in. That was literally all I knew, and I'm so happy that I did. That being said, we're actually going to start talking about episode 5 of Why the Last Man. And if you two are ready, we'll just dive right into that one.
Sploosh.
That
Yeah.
was the character from Archer.
Oh.
There's a girl who's like really into BDSM in that show, and whenever she gets like she's attracted to something, she's just like sploosh. So it's a great joke. Anyway, if you haven't seen
I
Archer,
wonder if your mom said that this morning.
fuck podcast is done. I'm out.
Maya, what is up?
I just know it makes Greg so uncomfortable, and I have to say it. It's so funny.
Kind of making me uncomfortable.
Oh, God. No, I'm sorry. I'm not sorry, but I am.
Yeah, we know you're not sorry. You're enjoying this. Anyways,
this episode of Why the Last Man took place in Boston.
You did.
Weston.
Okay. Yeah, 355 and Yorick make their way to Boston to find Allison Mann, Dr. Allison Mann. And on the flip side, Yorick's mother, we go back to her, and we see what she's having to deal with the other woman that was in what country was she in? Anyway, she's back
Israel.
Israel, thank you. Yeah, she's back at the White House, and we see a little bit of that starting to form. With that tension there, so which is again, and I can't stress this enough, not in the fucking comic. So let's concentrate on the story with 355 and Yorick, and then we'll jump over to his mom. I found it fascinating that Boston was at war. Not something I expected to see, because it's definitely not something that's in the comics per se, as far as I remember. But I liked it. I liked how they kind of branched out into what a lot of people would be going through at that moment. Like, you know, not trusting the government, not trusting what anybody's telling them. The if you want to call it propaganda that's on the walls and stuff that Yorick has to look at. Also, can we talk about how fucking stupid Yorick is? God damn it.
Yeah, he's fucking stupid. I mean, I thought we'd established that.
Oh, we did. He just, I still found myself going, Yorick, God damn it, Yorick, fucking.
Yeah, it's always, what he's like the fairy tale, fairy tales always have like, clever Hans. And he's the stupidest idiot, but he always manages to get out of whatever screwed up situation he finds himself in. He is clever Hans, and somehow he screws things up, but he always manages to come out of it just fine. It's like, God, I wish this would stop happening to you. Reality would just backhand you across the face so you'd stop being stupid.
Which is also very clever as to why they made him an escape artist, because that 100% is a thing. Like,
oh yeah,
like you talking about how he does that, and it's like it just fits perfectly in the fact that he's trained to be an escape artist, and and that's like, regardless of show or comic, like that's 100% a if you want to call it a character trait that I absolutely fucking love. But he also has this really like 355 says to him at one point to charm Allison Mann. And I thought to myself, I was like, yeah, Yorick, he can do that. He has this weird way about kind of being like, a kind of a dumb golden retriever.
Mhm.
You're just kind of like, oh, give him a little pat on the head. So, but yeah, I still love fucking 355. Nothing's changed there. Trying to think of
Yeah,
what else.
do you think she really wanted to meet up with Allison Mann, or was she just going there? You know, that was her excuse to go there and go to this safe house. Or I guess it was a safe house. I don't know what the hell that was.
I think what I think she's going through is that she's still yeah, because it's a weird situation because she's accomplished her mission, but now she has this huge problem with the mission ending by Allison Mann saying, "I'm not going with you to Washington. I'm going to San Francisco," and I think that she was kind of lost for a second, where her entire life for a long time has been working for the president covertly. Now that's changed. Now the parameters have changed. So,
well, not for the president. She worked for the Kupler ring.
that's true. That's true. Yes.
She had only been assigned to the president the day before everything went down.
Yeah, I mean, she's obviously she's a covert operative, but I also surmise from the conversation she had with the other woman that they were handpicked at a very young age.
Yeah.
Which creeps me out, makes me feel icky.
Very similar to the Black Widows.
I was just about to say that. Yeah, I was just about to say that. Yeah, I think that she's going through a little bit of trying to figure out what to do, because I think she sees what's better for the situation, but also I don't know. It's really fascinating. It's really, really fascinating what she's going through and what she's thinking, because she never says it out loud. You kind of have to just figure it out. Where, Yorick or Allison Mann lay it out on the table. And I felt this way reading the comic. I feel this way reading the show. 355 is by far one of the most interesting characters.
I think so. So far, that's what I feel. I adore her. Yorick can shove off, but
Also, I'd like to point this out. Much like Yorick and 355, Allison Mann is also pulled directly from the comic. Directly. Really, really impressed with that. I was like, wow, I didn't think they'd be able to pull that off, but here we are.
I really enjoyed how she was, and though we didn't get the full exposition of it, we got a great insight into who was affected and why they were affected.
Yeah.
She's like, you've got a Y chromosome. How's that possible? And then ampersand. Oh my God, there's two of you? And
yeah, she was like, you, pointless. You and him, fucking amazing.
Yeah.
Yeah, there's something going on there. I'll be very curious to see what it is.
Yeah, I really, really hope this show, goes for at least 4 to 6 seasons to tell the full story. I really, really hope that they don't cancel it during the second season, but you're never gonna figure out what happens. But yeah, well, I don't know. Go ahead.
If it goes as well as Handmaid's Tale, then it should continue, because they took that and pulled it out even further than the book. So
yeah.
Well, you also have to think, even though it's on Hulu, it's actually being financed by FX,
which is owned by Disney.
So it should be okay, I'm hoping, but FX doesn't have the greatest track record with shows running to their end.
True. I'll also point this out, that it is the specifically FX on Hulu. This isn't airing on TV, so
yeah. So hope that gives me more hope.
I don't know its numbers yet, but I'm really hoping that they're good enough to keep the show going. But something that Betty touched on for like a second was this episode kind of goes into a little bit about like what's going on elsewhere and with other people. Like when Yorick was in that room with the other girls and talking about like, or showing what they're going through, but also what the military girls are going through. And I love that. Really love that. Because again, I think one of the big things about the comic is it doesn't dive too much into what anybody else is going through. It focuses on Yorick, Allison, and 355. As far as I remember, it focuses directly on them.
Well, I like that it doesn't do that, because I don't think the show
Right.
would be as good as if it just focused on those people.
Right.
You know, because this is more than just those people. This is, you want to make people feel like, you know, they're in it too, that they can relate to it in one way or another.
Yeah. I think that's something that you can take a test to, like, not take a test to, but it can be a testament to the difference between mediums. Like, if this TV show did exactly what the comic would be, I 100% agree that it would fail. So I'm really happy that we have 3 different stories that will hopefully meet up at some point, but also are their own thing. We also didn't meet up with Hero at all. Hero and Sam. So we don't know what the fuck they're going through at the moment with those other women that what was that actress's name you really liked from the last episode?
Oh, Missy Pyle.
Missy Pyle.
Yeah, we didn't see them at all this episode, so
Yeah.
it was
But I'm waiting.
Yeah. The other thing I find absolutely fascinating is that we are 80 days into this apocalypse? 80 something days? If I remember correctly, or 3 months. I don't remember.
We're around 3 months, like 60 some days, 65 or so.
Okay.
I don't know.
Regardless, we've been in it for a while, and yet there are still people who, like, that woman that came back from Israel was just like, and now we have a socialist as president. That's fascinating to me. Mainly because I believe that would be a thing. If half the population just disappeared, you'd still have people being really, really political. Like, overtly political, not, come together and let's fight this thing. That's why, like, I've heard a lot of people say, oh, if we were invaded by aliens and we had to fight the aliens and we had a way to fight the aliens, so we had to just come together as humanity, there still wouldn't happen. There'd still be people who were racist or xenophobic or overtly political for some weird ass reason. I 100% believe that would be the case. So I'm really happy this show is like, no, we're gonna touch on that 100%.
I feel sorry for the pregnant girl.
Oh my god, yeah.
Because everybody's looking at her. I'm just like, oh, I know that feeling would suck, because she does not want to be the center of attention, and there she is, the freaking center of attention. I'm like, oh, bless your heart, girl. I hate that for you. And the one person you wouldn't want to find out had to be there when all of it went down. It's like, oh,
yeah,
why her?
Yep, that's my thoughts.
And now, is that
exactly.
in the comic?
Nope.
Oh, wow. This is going to be
Absolutely
interesting.
not. Yeah.
Because you got to think, there would be some women who were pregnant when this happened.
Yeah.
And, babies would still be born. But what happens to the ones with Y chromosomes? Do they die in utero? What if the bleeding she had was a male twin that she miscarried?
Yeah. Yeah. Again, that's 100% why I like this show. Thank you, phone. I'm gonna mute you now because you're just fucking making noise. The comic, like I said, it just focuses on Yorick, Allison, and 355 and their survival to get to San Francisco. Like, legitimately, that's a huge portion of the comic, most of it actually. And we never really go back to Yorick's mom. We never touch up on any other characters. And I know that was a complaint that people had about the comic at the time, or at least, when I talked to people after having read it myself, like in 2010 or whatever. Yeah, it was that we just focused on them. There were so many like unanswered questions that were very ambiguous because they wanted to make it ambiguous. But in a weird turn of events, and this is like Maya liking the Party Thor episode, we just didn't expect it. I agree with you that more details are better for this show. More information is way more entertaining for this TV show. So, well, why don't we go ahead and give the episode a grade, unless you guys have any other thoughts, so we can move on to What If and then the Midnight Mass. Betty, why don't you go and go first?
I'll give this one B+. Wasn't exciting as the other ones, but it was still a good show. I'm intrigued to see where it's going to go in all routes. Again, I want to get back to Hero and Sam. I'm curious about the political beef that's about to go down. I'm curious about the pregnant girl, and now I'm wondering about all the other pregnant women. And I'm wondering how often Yorick is going to get by using the "I'm a trans man," So, because some people just automatically assume, they're like, "Oh, it's someone with a beard. It must be a trans man," and it's like, y'all ain't got no clue. So, yeah. It's still proving to be a very good show. So B+ for me. What about you, Maya?
I'll give this episode a B. I really, mainly because of the interactions between Yorick and Allison Mann, I thought that was a fascinating conversation. How she's explaining the different types of people that have Y chromosomes that you could look at and outwardly would never assume or think that they had one. People with androgen insensitivity and other types of disorders where it makes it appear that a person presents female outwardly, but yet they have testes inside their body that just never descended. It's not all black and white, and I love the fact that they're showing you all the gray in between a little bit at a time. But that was the best part of the episode to me. I still enjoyed the episode a lot, especially 355 when she met Agent 235. I think that was 235, and the supposed safe house or whatever it was, where she went to try to seek equipment. But yeah, Kimberly is a total bitch. Even if she is there for somebody, Christine, when she may have been miscarrying a twin, or that's just like you said, the last person in the world that you want there for your time of need. But yeah, everything is interesting and flowing along nicely, and I really enjoy this show, and I'm looking forward to next week, and I'm excited for more. But yeah, this episode didn't hit as hard as others, but it's still really solid, so it'll be for me. What about you, Greg?
B+. I agree with almost everything you guys said. I think certain little things are kind of like, I want to see more. I want the story to kind of progress a little bit quicker. I feel like there are a few scenes where I was like, let me pick up my phone and look at that instead, which can tell you how much I'm like into a show. But it wasn't as often. I didn't pick up my phone as often because the show's still really entertaining. I think there was a conversation with Yorick's mom and somebody that I was just like, I didn't think I cared for as much. So, but again, like everything with Yorick and 355 was really entertaining, especially when 355 was talking to the other Culple Ring member. Like I was like, oh my God, this is this didn't happen in the comic at all. This is great.
Okay, so here's a question I have. Did Yorick's mom know 355's plan with the pilots, or does she
No.
also? That bitch didn't tell her.
Mm-mm.
She
that's-
should told her.
That's the thing about 355 is that she is authorized to make decisions that are beneficial to the overall mission, which is why I think she did what she did with the not telling, breaking the antenna and meeting up with the other culprit ring member in the safe house, which I'm unclear whether she knew she was in the safe house or not. If 355 knew the other one was in the safe house or not.
I don't think she did.
Yeah, because I think
So-
she did. If she did, there wouldn't have been a fight.
Yeah,
Also, that fight scene was great.
it was.
Yeah, it was.
But yeah, B+. Really good show, really, really fun. I feel like next episode's gonna ramp up with some stuff, and I'm very excited. For fuck's sake, please show us the goddamn Amazon soon. Holy shit. I want to see what this show, because I know what they look like in the comic. I want to know what they do with them in the show. But
Now I'm curious.
oh, I'm so excited. We know they're in the show, they're in the credits on IMDb, so we know the Amazons are coming, but it's gonna be exciting. All right, well, let's go ahead and talk about episode 8 of What If. Episode 8 is kind of picks up a little bit, which is weird, from the end of Party Thor episode, where we see a version of Ultron with the Infinity Stones in his chest and a completely different outfit, almost like he has Vision's body. Episode 8 tells us that story of how that Ultron came to be. In this universe, if you remember from the movie Age of Ultron, there is a cradle that contained Vision's body. The Avengers end up stealing that cradle, putting the Mind Stone in it, and then Thor hits it with some lightning and it activates everything, and Vision becomes into being. In this universe, Ultron gets the cradle and uploads it completely to put his consciousness in the Vision body. This allows him to have the powers of Vision, which are pretty fucking powerful, if we're being honest. He activates a bunch of nuclear missiles, causing nuclear winter. And we see...
Say that word again.
Nuclear.
It's nuclear. You said nuclear.
I know.
All I could think of was Superman 4, Gene Hackman's inability to say nuclear.
It's one of those words that I know that I say wrong, and unless I concentrate, I can't say it correctly.
It happens. We all have those.
Yeah.
Like with me, when I try to say etc., I always say etc. And I know it's wrong, but I still say it anyway. Even I know it's ET, I use EX. But I don't do that with espresso, and a lot of people do.
Oh my god, yeah. The other one that drives me nuts is irregardless. No.
Irregardless is a fucking word. It's in the dictionary.
The listeners can't see my face, but I'm giving this look of I don't care, because it's negating itself. It's a word that literally negates itself, and I hate it.
Still a fucking word. It's been in use for hundreds of years.
Don't care. Do not give a shit. It sounds stupid, and I hate it.
Well, irregardless of what you think.
So Ultron basically creates nuclear winter, and we see Natalie, or Black Widow, on a motorcycle racing through a destroyed New York. I assume it's New York. Meanwhile, we see a Clint Barton, aka Hawkeye, taking out Ultron drones, chasing Natalie. They meet up, and they basically discover that the way to take out Ultron is to go to Siberia, where there's an Armin Zola computer system that's going to help them get into the system. Meanwhile, Ultron while he's doing this, Thanos shows up and comes through a portal to which, and this is true, Vision could have done this at any fucking point, he literally just slices Thanos in twain. A lot of people I see on Twitter talking about like Vision could have done that this whole time. Well, Vision, there's a reason that Vision was able to hold Thor's hammer. Like that's like Vision has that very much a mentality to not cause harm. But Ultron doesn't have that. So that's why that's a thing. But anyway, one of my favorite shots of this was when he picks up the Infinity Stones and turns them into the Infinity Gems from the comics. Did you both notice that?
I did.
I was like, oh, that's so rad. Because one of the things that I always found funny about the MCU was that the stones look like little rocks, but the gems in the comic are oval shaped and smooth. And he turns them into that to put them in his chest. I was like, that's so, thank you. Thank you for giving this nerd that. But he then goes and destroys every civilization in the galaxy, possibly universe. And as he's standing there in absolute peace, Watcher's giving his speech that he would normally do in every episode, talking about like what's going on, and then Vision's just like, I see you. And for the first time we see the Watcher just like get like, the fuck.
Yeah, I mean, I guess we're going to find out. I sound so country right then.
You went real southern.
You went 0 to cornbread. That was 0 to cornbread real fast.
I don't know what happened. What his role is in all of this. I mean, after Ultron's like, yeah, there's other universes I can destroy. Hell yeah. And he's still like, oh, I can't interfere. What the fuck, bitch? Yes, you can. Shut the fuck up. We're not playing by rules at this point. Do what you need to do, So, yeah.
That's one of the big things about like the comic was, and the jokes I kept making leading up to the show when they're advertising it, and we hear Jeffrey Wright?
Mm-hmm.
Jeffrey Wright's voice going, I want to say Rush. I was like, that's not right at all. That's a different actor entirely. We hear his voice say, I cannot, will not, should not, or whatever, intervene. And my joke was like, except for all the times you have. As a matter of fact, this guy on TikTok who talks about comic books all the time, specifically Marvel, he goes, so, he was talking about like going into what if, people are always surprised that the Watcher never intervenes. He goes, but here's the thing, the Watcher intervenes all the time. So I went back and I tried to find every single time the Watcher intervenes in the comics, 471 times. Like,
wow.
When we say he intervenes all the time, he really does. Yeah. And he gets in trouble from the other Watchers all the time. But that's because Uatu has a what the other Watchers lack, which is this sense of empathy and desire to help. Uatu has that in spades. He always wants to help. And I'm glad we get to see that. Also, his like when he's fighting Ultron and he puts on his fucking armor, I was like, oh my god, that's directly from the comic. Thank you.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
That's cool.
Yeah, Misty really enjoyed that fight between the Watcher and Ultron. She's like, oh shit, the Watcher's throwing down.
One of the shots that I thought was so cool, like when they were multiversal battling and punching each other into different universes. One of the quick ones is Mustafar from Star Wars.
Really?
If you watch the scene where Ultron is like pushing or like, I don't know what to call it, through different multiverses or different universes, there's one where it looks like a lava planet. Pause it and you can see Vader's castle in the background.
Ah.
I will have to go back and check that out.
Yeah, I was like, that's
so
clever.
Do you think Doctor Strange is going to come back in the last one?
Oh, I think so there was a commercial that happened like right after episode 1. No joke. It was for like some Lexus fucking SUV. And it was like post-apocalypse Natalie, Captain Carter, T'Challa, and Doctor Strange Supreme standing in a circle, fighting a bunch of Ultron bots that were coming at them, while Vision was above them, blasting them with his hand. And then through a portal came Party Thor, drifting through all of them in the Lexus. And I went, well, that seems like a bit of a spoiler.
Huh.
I don't think that the final episode will have Party Thor drifting through the fucking Ultron droids, but
but I want to see it.
Yeah, I kind of saw this coming just because there was too much evidence towards it, and it's so weird to me to see this because this is totally fucking new. Multiversal Avengers, if we want to call them that, is not a thing in the comics. That's never happened, as far as I know, beyond like the Spider-Verse comics. Like, I know that there's the Council of Reeds, which is a bunch of multiversal Reed Richards, like, who kind of control things from a distance or whatever, which Rick and Morty has parodied. And there are tons of multiversal things that happen in the comics, but never like this. So, but it fits. It works. It totally fucking works. And I'm excited to see how next week's ends. I fucking absolutely love Infinite Ultron, his design. Like, I want a toy of that Infinite Ultron. I think it looks so rad.
They'll probably announce it next week, Hasbro. Because if you've noticed, after some of these episodes have aired, like they have their fan first days, which are like Tuesdays and Fridays and things like that, and they announce new action figures for their Marvel Legends line, they've shown actual figures from What If.
Okay.
Mm-hmm. But it's usually after they air. But I guarantee you that action figure has been designed and will be announced probably within a week.
All right. Yeah, I fucking love it. I know that one of the complaints I saw about this episode, and I'll bring it to you guys' attention, was them constantly killing characters that we know. Like, people were bitching that this is the 5th time we watched Tony die this series.
Yeah, I told Jeff, I was like, Tony Stark should just be removed. He's the variant that needs to be removed. He causes a lot of problems.
Yeah, you're not wrong. Have you ever heard of, okay, so going a little bit off topic here, there's a comic series called Axis. What Axis is it basically turned everything on its head. Villains became heroes and heroes became villains, but in a weird way. So, like, one of the comics was how Carnage, this terrible, terrible, terrifying villain in Spider-Man's comic series, he becomes a good guy, but he still has Cletus Cassidy's like psychopathness in him. He's just not killing anybody. He's just trying to save them. But like, there's a whole thing where like he doesn't understand how to do things properly. It's really fucking weird and really stupid. But anyway, one of the things that they kept from Axis was this like really, really shitty version of Tony. Like, he's almost a villain. It was a series called Superior Iron Man, and people fucking hated it because it made Tony into this like complete piece of shit.
Like real billionaires.
Like, it was what people hated about it wasn't the Tony that they knew, obviously, but again, it was accurate to
the story that they were trying to create.
Yeah, like, I don't know, it was a whole thing. But one of the big like the thing that Superior Iron Man does, or this particular Tony, is he creates an app that allows you to use the extremists. It wasn't a virus; it was nanomachines in the comics. Use extremists to basically create your ideal self. So, like, let's say I use it, I'm suddenly 180 pounds, I got some muscle definition, and my dick's bigger. I don't fucking know. Whatever.
Got to get away from that micro penis somehow.
Motherfucker.
You shouldn't have said it.
You walked right into it.
Yeah, you did.
I know I did, but I didn't think. That's ultimately what it comes down to.
I'm always going to pull out a callback joke if I can.
For anyone's curiosity, I don't have a micro penis.
So he says.
Anyway, so everyone uses this app, right? Everyone gets it, makes their ideal self, and then after a week, without any warning, it goes pay $100 a month or lose access to the app. Like some real evil billionaire Jeff Bezos shit. And and then there was a bunch of other shit that he did that was fucked up too. But you're absolutely right, Betty. Like Ultron is 100% Tony's fault. 100%. Which also leads into Civil War and why he's like okay with the like they kind of made that work in the MCU. But this leads into my next point that there's a whole parallel of like Hawkeye sacrifices himself so Black Widow can get away, and it parallels the shot in Endgame when Natalie sacrifices herself for the Soul Stone. And what makes me laugh, what I always find funny is that these stories, these what if stories, aren't canon necessarily. They are side stories that you can ignore, you can just enjoy. But the biggest complaint I see is that people are just like, I'm tired of watching my favorite characters die in this show.
They're not really dead. Get over it.
Yeah, I mean it's so bizarre to me. I don't get it, and that's what I wanted to throw in your guys' lap because it's since we're going to be watching the finale next week. Like, expect more death, I guess. I don't know what else to tell you. Like,
well, yeah, it doesn't bother me again, but back to my nightmares. I've watched people I love die multiple times in my nightmares. I don't wake up. I'm tired of watching the people I love die. It's a fucking nightmare. Life goes on. This is a show. Get over it, people. They're not real.
Yeah.
Stop being such a special snowflake. I don't know what to tell you. Get real friends.
Like, yeah, it was like an Endgame when I watched it. You know, I'm invested. I probably was a little emotional when Tony snapped his fingers and did what he did and then died. And I was like, oh, that's really sad. But there was also like background to it. It was the Tony that we knew, the Tony that we watched. The versions that we've seen in this show are not the Tonys that we've watched. They're different Tonys. This is a different Clint. This is a different Doctor Strange. Like, the list goes on and on. It's so weird to me, but yeah, I wanted to bring that up because I see that like every week, like especially when a character that everyone loves is dead, and I'm just like, not dead. Like, they could come back in a what if. They could. Also, what the fuck? It's a show. All right.
Again, get some real friends. I don't know what to tell you other than that, because obviously your life is really sad if this is what makes you mad.
I personally I'm a big fan of a show killing off a character. One of my favorite shows is Firefly. And I remember, I don't know if either of you have watched Firefly.
Oddly enough, I own Serenity and have seen it several times, but never watched Firefly.
Okay.
I'd never heard of the show, but I saw the fucking DVD one night at Walmart, and I was like, this looks cool. Bought it, went home, watched it. I was like, wow, that was awesome. I love that. And then I found out Firefly was a thing, and I've still never gone and watched it. Because I know how the story ends.
Yeah, that's fair. So Serenity was out in theaters, and it was coming to DVD. And I had a bunch of friends and my brother going, hey, have you ever seen Firefly, Greg? And I was like, no, I've never seen Firefly. There's also a woman that we knew that with the comedy group I was PAing for. And they were like, you should check out Firefly. And I went, all right, I'll watch Firefly. So I watched the entire season because it's like 12 episodes. And I fell in love with it. I was like, this show's fucking fantastic. And going into the movie, I was asked by multiple people, who are your favorite characters? And I said, Wash and Book. Yeah. And they were just like, I think my buddy Jawar's reaction was, okay, like that was it, because he didn't want to spoil it for me, and I was upset that Wash died. Like, I was legitimately upset because I loved that character. Who doesn't love Wash, right? And
I'm a leaf
but
on the wind.
But I love that he, God damn it, I love that he did, because it made the story more impactful, you know? To me, when you're watching something and you love these characters and somebody gets killed off, I think it makes for such a better story.
Oh
It
yeah.
gives our protagonist more ammo to be stronger, to fight for that person, or I think that's something that's special about good stories. I'll give you another example of why Mass Effect is such an important series to me. I will try to make this not a long-winded story, but I know I'm guilty for that. In the game, in the first game, there are a number of characters that you run into. One of them is named Tali. She's a Quarian. I think her planet. Her planet's not named after her race. It's like we're humans, but also Earthlings, whatever. Her entire species can't breathe regular air. They get sick very easily. But you meet up with Tali, and I immediately fell in love with Tali in a platonic way. Like, I was like, she's like a little sister. I have to protect her. At the end of the first game, nobody really dies on your team. But the way the second game was structured was you had to do a bunch of side missions and scan planets and a whole bunch of stuff like that to make the ship stronger. So that way, when you went into your final mission, nobody died. As a matter of fact, my buddy Andy, he did that. He spent hours making sure that his ship and everything was 100% ready to go. When he did his final mission, no one died. I did not do that. I beat the game as a story progressive sort of this situation. I didn't race through it, but I didn't do very many side missions. I didn't scan planets almost at all. So going into the final mission, I said that Tali was really good with computers and technology. So I sent her on the mission to do that. She caught a fucking rocket to the face. I was extremely upset about it. Like, I had to pause the game and process that this character I fucking love and was trying to protect died under my watch. When I went into the third game, her death made the third game more impactful to me. Way more impactful. By playing the third game, I go to her planet because her people created this robot series called the Geth. And the Geth and the Quarian were at a war. I had to go there and figure that out. Not having woken up the Geth character in the second game, because I didn't pay attention, I didn't have the two main characters for this mission from the second game because it remembered what I did. I had some random Quarian character. I had some random Geth character. And meanwhile, I'm doing this. At the end of the mission, it goes, do you want to give the Geth, like, complete... what do you call that when you give sentience? Do you want to give them complete sentience? Or do you want to take it away? And I said, give it to them, because that was the option for... There's Paragon and Renegade, and I was doing Paragon. So I did the Paragon option. In space, the Quarian race and the Geth race are staring at each other. And when I give them sentience, the Quarians get scared and start firing upon the Geth. The Geth, having full sentience, go, well, if you're going to fire at us, we're going to fire at you. Killing every single Quarian in the galaxy. The one Quarian I had with me on the planet's surface sees remnants of her fucking people's ships coming through the atmosphere, looks up, turns to you and goes, you did this. You killed my entire race. Boom. I can't tell you how upset I was. Like, I stopped playing the game right after that for a solid day and a half. I had to process that. Tali's death in the second game and what ended up happening in the third game made Mass Effect such an important thing to me. And when I see people bitching and complaining that we're watching Tony die like every other episode of What If, I'm like, stop your fucking bitching. It makes the stories better. It makes them more entertaining. It makes them more impactful. This was a really, really long-winded way to tell you guys that I really enjoy upset deaths in stories. So, all right. I'm done. I'm done with my rant. Thanks for coming to my TED Talk. Let's go ahead and give a review to this episode. Maya, why don't you go first?
Again, it was a fun episode, but I like the ending where he meets up with the isolated strange that's in his own little pocket outside of his collapsed reality to say, I need your help. So looks like we're going to have one of the things we wondered, are these shows going to tie in? We've absolutely got our answer. Yes, they're tying in, and we're seeing a cohesive story being developed here out of all of it, it seems like. So I'm excited about that, and I realize I used the word seems twice in a sentence. But yeah, did I give it a grade yet?
No.
I'm flip flopping here on this. I think I'm going to give it an A minus. It was enjoyable for what it was. I really liked, Arnim Zola. I liked the use of Black Widow and Hawkeye, but as good as they are, they wouldn't have been that good. I don't know, but the premise behind everything and the setups what really helped this episode for me. What did you think, Betty?
I'd give it a B plus. I like how it is drawing everything together. So I'm just curious to see where it's going to go from there. I don't really have any majorly impactful thoughts on it. So I'm just going to pass it off to Gregg.
Yeah. I really like the idea of like an Ultron that gains the powers of the Infinity Stones and the Vision Body and just destroys the entire fucking galaxy. The visual aspects of this episode were really, really gorgeous. Like I said, the fight between Watcher and Uatu. Oh, sorry. Ultron and Uatu were really fucking cool to look at. There's that one universe where we saw Steve becoming president.
Yeah.
I also like the idea that like there were people in pocket universes who just watched an Ultron punch a Watcher and then straight up disappear within a second. Like, it's like, the fuck? The hell happened?
Definitely a blink and you missed it kind of moment.
Yeah. Some fucking taxi cab drivers going through, Times Square and slams on their brakes for nothing because they saw that for a second. But there was another thought I had about it, but I don't remember what the fuck it was. Anyway, but yeah, like really excited for. I'm gonna give it an A minus. That's what I was gonna say. That was the grade. I was gonna give it an A minus. Because I still think there's a little bit of a leap of faith here that it takes, much like most what ifs. I still feel like a lot of the what ifs from the comics made a lot more sense. Like you didn't have as many of this, like, well, what about this? What about that? This show doesn't do that. It's trying to tell a very specific plot, which is fine for the most part, but that's why it gets an A minus. But yeah, love the Ultron design, of Infinite Ultron's design. Fucking love it. Like next week is going to be a great finale, I think, with the multiversal Avengers. I don't know if we're getting Zombie Hunter Spider-Man, sorry. But I hope we do, because there's a shot of in the mid-season trailer where it's Doctor Strange Supreme standing next to Party Thor, and Party Thor says, "Zombies, that's a great idea," or something to that effect. So we'll see where that leads. Up next on our syllabus is Netflix's limited series made by
Mike Flanagan.
Thank you. Holy shit, my brain just stopped. I was like, what was his name?
The look on your face. That was great.
Midnight Mass. This guy also did Haunting of Hill House and Haunting of Bly Manor, to which we have watched on this podcast and given pretty high reviews for. I think it's safe to say that we like Mike Flanagan's work. So that, again, is all I went into with the show. I didn't watch a single trailer. I just went, cool, I'm in, because I like his other shows.
Well, I watched a trailer, and I had to tell you, I could have not watched the trailer and still had as much information going into it.
That's good. I'm glad to hear that.
It left you going, I don't know what the fuck this is, but I want to watch it. Yeah.
I'm glad to hear that. I'm really good. I'm glad, because like that's the thing about trailers that always drives me nuts, is like it gives away too much sometimes. So
this one definitely did not. It just gave you some shots that had some dramatic music with it, and I was like, yeah, I have no idea what's going on here, but this looks fascinating.
I didn't watch a trailer, but you know how if you're like scrolling through Netflix and you stop on something, it'll show you like 60 seconds of a scene.
Yeah.
I had it pulled up to put Midnight Mass in my list to watch, and the scene that it shows is the scene of Father Hill walking alongside Lisa Scarborough as she's rolling along in her wheelchair, and he's talking about how his past has led him here just as her past has led her there. It's that scene. I was like, oh, that gives me no context whatsoever of what this show is about.
That's perfect. I'm so happy to hear that. Before we talk about this, we are going to talk about spoilers, because we're talking about all 7 episodes. If you have not watched Midnight Mass, stop listening to this podcast, go watch the show, come back. Genuinely. As we have plainly stated right here, it is a much better show going in borderline blind. That being said, from here on out, we are talking spoilers. So
because you can't talk about this show without spoiling it, obviously.
100%. So let's dive into the first bit of the show. We see the character Riley months prior to the events of this, years prior to the events of this. He's in an accident where he was drunk and killed a woman.
Killed a teenage girl.
I thought it was a woman. Sorry. Yeah, well,
she was only 16, I think they said.
Wow. Okay, I missed that part. But he's troubled by it, if you will. Like, he sees her every time he goes to sleep, and I legit thought this was going to be another ghost story because of that shot. I thought for sure it was going to be another full-on ghost story, like the other 2 shows were. Boy, oh boy, was I wrong. So it starts, like, the real story starts off with Riley coming back home after getting out of prison. And he lived, quote unquote, on this small island off of the coast of.
I'm going to assume that it's in the Pacific Northwest region of the United States, because at one point when his mother's walking him home and she's talking about how everybody is packing up and leaving Crockett Island, that one of the people there took a job in Oregon. So I'm going to assume that this, and it's set in the springtime right around Easter, but yet everybody's dressing like it's really chilly. So I'm going to assume that it's in that region off the coast of Washington State or Oregon.
It was filmed in BC,
British Columbia.
Yeah, and Vancouver Island, and then another place in Canada that is a lake, but they did the shots to where you couldn't tell that it was
nice
landlocked. Yeah, so it is, but it is based off of his own experiences growing up on a small island off of New York.
You know what I was going to say is, and I texted this to Maya after like the second episode, was this show gave me very strong, like really well done, obviously, but made for TV Stephen King movie. Like, it felt like this island was off the coast of Maine. Like that's just what was screaming to me the first few episodes. And if Mike Flanagan came out and said like his entire inspiration for this show was based off of Stephen King novels, I'd 100% agree.
Oh yeah, Salem's Lot was heavy. You know, there was a
Absolutely.
lot of Stephen King horror in there that I was like, yeah, it's not. It's like I told Jeff, it's not based off of a book, but it's based off of books. You know, there's a
Yeah.
lot of things thrown in
100%
here that
inspired.
he's taken. It's like fan fiction.
In a way,
Yeah.
yeah, in a way. I know that like I was looking at his IMDb because I was like, what other movies has he done? Because this guy, I like fucking love Mike now. He did Doctor Sleep. He wrote the screenplay and
Mhm.
directed the movie. Had no fucking clue. Now I want to watch Doctor Sleep. I mean,
Doctor Sleep's a great movie. The book's great too. So, and he did a really good job with it. So,
yeah. Stephen King even said like he was really impressed with the movie. So that was
yeah, and he doesn't say that about a lot of things based on his stuff. So,
no, he does not.
and I appreciated it because I did read Doctor Sleep when it first came out because I love The Shining, and the book was fabulous. And what he was able to translate from the book, he did a great job. I liked the movie a lot.
That's good to hear because I know that a lot of people have criticized Mike Flanagan's work in bizarre ways, and I remember seeing a lot of people criticizing Doctor Sleep for like weirdly not being accurate to the or to the book. So
Well, again, there are certain things that you can't portray that, you know, your imagination is not going to have any problems pulling certain things out of thin air, but you're not going to be able to translate that to TV. You know, you're not going to be able to translate that to a movie screen. It doesn't work like that. I
right.
think it was a good job. I liked what was done with it. And I hope to God Stephen King does another one of those because I think that he could continue this story on.
Yeah.
You know what I would love to see Mike Flanagan tackle if they were given another Stephen King adaptation?
What's that?
An ongoing series of the Dark Tower series.
Oh, I
that'd
think he'd
be
kill
awesome.
it. I think he'd 100% kill it. Like, oh, dude. All right. Well, let's get back to Midnight Mass. We're getting a little off track here.
Yeah. And just a side note, Crockett Island, where Riley goes back home to, population of 127 people total.
Yeah, it was really tiny. So
There's no cars at all on the island. Everybody travels by foot, boat, or bike.
I mean, yeah.
Yeah, there are like actual islands like that too, which is crazy.
Mm-hmm.
I was watching a video of a guy saying that like he lived on an island for a couple of years and the max speed limit for cars was 20 miles an hour.
Yeah.
So
You know, I mean, well, not islands here, but we have small towns like that. But, you know, where you've got
My
like
town.
127 people.
My town, 1400, speed limit of 25 all the way through it.
Yeah.
wow, damn.
There's
Well,
a lot of little small towns off in North Carolina, too, that are like that. Creepy little places.
At the end of the first episode, we get introduced to a lot of characters. At the end of the first episode, there's a massive storm that hits the island. In the morning, the entire beach side is covered in dead cats. You find out in episode 2 that these cats did not die from just being drowned or whatever. Like they have actual slash marks or bite marks taken out of them.
Well, let's not forget, Riley's come back to this island. You know, he's in AA. Everybody knows everybody, so he's trying to mind his own business. Storm comes. He sees what he thinks is the Monsignor of the church running
Correct.
around
Yeah.
outside. And then all of a sudden there's these dead cats. So, you know,
Yeah, he's
weird
very
stuff's
like
afoot.
yeah. It's very clear from the get that something's off. And in the second episode, we are introduced to what did he call himself? I'm drawing a blank here.
Father Paul.
Father Paul, thank you. He calls himself Father Paul. And he says that the what is the name for that? The group
We got introduced to him in the first episode.
I guess I should say more so by the idea that he had was it in the first episode that he had the congregation where he basically said that Pruitt was on the mainland in a hospital.
Not well. Yeah.
I thought that was the second episode. I don't know why that all runs together.
It may have
does.
been the second episode, but yeah, that's but he was introduced in the first because he gets off of the ferry and Beverly Keene is like, "Where's Monsignor Pruitt?" He's like, "Oh, well, I'm here. He's not going to be back just yet, but I'm here in his place."
Okay. I genuinely don't remember that, but that's also episode 1 where they're just kind of introducing characters and
yeah, and you're introduced to a lot of characters in that first episode.
Mm-hmm.
a lot. Well, let's jump ahead a little bit. Let's get to the meat and bones of the show. Episode 3 is when everything starts really fucking taking off. We learn that Father Paul knows the story of Pruitt, that Pruitt went to Israel.
Jerusalem specifically.
To walk in the footsteps of Jesus.
He goes to the Wailing Wall and then like gets lost from his group, and we see him go into a cave of sorts.
He gets caught in a sandstorm and finds a cave in it.
Yes.
While he's seeking shelter.
There's a creature in the cave that he calls an angel. The angel attacks him and starts drinking his blood. The angel then makes him drink his blood, and he then wakes up in the morning a young man, who we see is Father Paul. Question for you two.
Mm-hmm.
Did you get the vibes that I got from this scene? Like, I seen a lot of people talk about it, and a word popped into my head that's never uttered in the show. Of immediately,
vampire?
Yeah. Immediately, I was like, oh, this is a vampire.
Oh, yeah.
Okay.
Oh, yeah, 100%.
Tons of people didn't catch it was a vampire until like episode 4 or 5.
How?
I don't know. Immediately, I was like, oh, vampire. Awesome.
I have to say, after seeing this show, coolest way I've ever seen vampires fucking done.
Absolutely. I think I said this to my buddy Andy because we didn't talk, like I didn't spoil that it was a vampire because I only watched the first episode. But one of my favorite things about Haunting of Hill House was how ghosts are tackled. How like the girl, like, you know, she sees the bent neck lady and it's the entire time it's herself. Like, fucking love that. I love that you had like you get to haunt yourself in the afterlife or what. Like, oh, it's such a brilliant fucking concept. I've never seen it done before. And this is the same thing for me. This depiction of a vampire, I was like, oh, this is brilliant. But we digress. Episode 4. Yeah. Episode 4. Yes, is it episode 4? Sorry. Paul and is trying to get, because there's another character that we see. Let me see if I can find his name, unless you both remember it. The drunk.
Joe Colley.
Joe Colley, thank you. Joe Colley, a long time ago when Lisa was like 7, accidentally shot her while being drunk in the spine. She's paralyzed, and he feels extremely guilty for it.
Because, yeah,
why would you not? But it never stopped him from drinking. So Father Paul doesn't really want Riley, who is court ordered to go to AA, to keep going to the mainland. So he's like, why don't we just do it here? That way you don't have to leave. So Paul and Riley started an AA thing. Riley and Paul, in a way, convinced Joe to join them. But also by this point, if I'm not mistaken, and correct me if I'm wrong, Lisa miraculously starts walking again.
Yeah, that happened in episode 3.
3, okay, that's what I thought.
Mm-hmm. And that's one of the things, you know, it's something that you notice through this is everybody that attends the church look at how haggard and rough and weathered they look at the episode 1, and how they start taking on more youthful appearances and seem to just be getting better as time goes on and as time progresses.
The most significant one is the doctor's mom.
Yeah,
that's the most significant one. That is definitely the most significant one, but Riley's dad and mom also are very noticeable. The mayor and his wife are very noticeable. But it's everybody that attends daily mass, because they have mass daily on this island. And Father Paul, he actually goes to the doctor, the doctor on the island, her home. Her mother Mildred is bedridden, and she always loved mass. And he's like, I'm bringing mass to her.
She also had dementia, if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah,
she had dementia too. She had dementia as well. But yeah, he's like, I'm going to bring mass to her, and I'll be here every evening. And you start to see her slowly get better as well. So it is in episode 3 that you see he's giving communion, and Lisa's sitting there in her chair, and he holds out the communion wafer, and she's got her hands out, and he takes a couple steps back. So she rolls forward, and he goes back up towards the pulpit, up the steps, and he's like, take the communion. You can do it. And then she stands up and starts walking, and everybody's like, oh my God, it's a real fucking miracle. So that leads to her going to Joe Colley's trailer in the woods to confront him about how awful her life has been because of his actions and how she hates him, but yet she forgives him. And that's what led him to going to that AA meeting.
Yeah. Which was a very, I was like, that again, there's so many scenes in this show that are so tense and provocating that you cannot look away. And that was 1,000% one of those scenes. Like her kind of telling him, like, I hate you. I still hate you, but I forgive you. And the thought of her forgiving him made Joe just fucking break down. God, that scene is gorgeous. One of the things, I'm going to kind of break here for a second. One of the things about this show that I fucking love is the performances. Like, everyone fucking showed up and said, I'm 100%ing this. Nobody phoned it in even a little bit.
Oh, absolutely.
Because like one of my favorite people that's a celebrity, if you will, that is in this show was in Bly Manor, Raul Cooley, who plays Sheriff Hassan. Not only have I heard people compliment him on his portrayal of a Muslim, because Raul Cooley is not Muslim, he is atheist, and but he wanted to portray a Muslim in the most positive light possible. So they actually hired a I don't remember the guy's name. It's Muhammad something, but he worked with Raul directly to make Hassan a proper Muslim. And I fucking love that. Like, yeah, I'm not religious. I don't follow any kind of doctrine on anything. You can consider me an atheist if you want. But respect for other people's religions and respect for people who are peaceful and practice a religion, I think is very important. And it stands to it's a testament to just how much Mike Flanagan and the other cast members give a shit.
Yeah.
So,
I mean, and it was a good balance to the fanatic Christianity that Bev was definitely bringing to the table.
Oh God, I loved to hate her. Good.
Yeah.
Lord, I love to hate her.
She reminded me as my contempt for her is up there with my contempt for Dolores Umbridge from the Harry Potter series.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah, I knew that was what you were going to say. I just knew it because, yeah.
There are some characters that are so well written that you just absolutely hate them to their very core with every fiber of your being, and this is one of them. Holy shit.
Yeah,
Oh yeah.
absolutely. I always love a good villain.
You ever
that-
know somebody that's like her though?
Yeah.
Not personally, but
I do. Oh, I do.
I don't think you can live around here and not know somebody like that.
yeah,
Yeah, that's true.
that's fair. Anyway, to go back to the story, to what happens next. One day during, like, this was an episode towards the end of episode 3. Joe Colley shows up because Father Paul was like sick, and that's the first time that we see Father Paul. I think it was episode 3 when we recognize that he can't go into the sun. Was it 3 or 4?
No, it was episode 4, but he had been going into the sun in all these other episodes.
Yeah, I mean, he does walk out into the sun and like outside the church and stuff.
I should say this is after he died. He poisoned himself.
Yeah.
And then when he came back to life, he couldn't be in the sun.
Yeah.
And the thing about Joe was this particular scene, which again, I think it's the end of episode 3. He starts to recognize that this particular newspaper article of Father Pruitt, or Monsignor Pruitt, from way the fuck back in the day, looks exactly like Father Paul. And he's like kind of looking at it, but because it's an old newspaper and photos weren't that great and it's print, it's not quite like you can see it, but not really. And at this point, I don't remember exactly what happens, but Joe gets pushed down and his head busts open.
He's going to leave, and Father Paul gives him a hug. And when he's hugging him, he's like overwhelmed with the vampiric hunger, and he's wanting to feed on him. And he's like, "Get off of me. What are you doing? Get off of me." And when he breaks away, he falls backwards and busts the back of his head on the corner of an end table. That's what happened.
Because he starts bleeding out his head, and then that's when Paul is completely overtaken and feeds on him. Because the next night, because they do midnight mass, and then
no, they hadn't done the midnight thing yet.
Or they were talking. Yeah, they were
talking. The next day for daily mass, he didn't show up.
Because I remember is that Riley went to AA and Joe didn't show up. And it was
later on.
That's later on. Okay.
Yeah, the next morning after he feasts on Joe Colley, he didn't show for mass, and that's when Beverly King goes to his house and sees that he is just feasted upon, and then she calls for the mayor and the main island handyman Sturge. She calls for him and the mayor. She's like, "Take it, roll it up in a blanket, put it on a boat. When it gets dark later on tonight, dump it 5 miles off the coast."
Which you guys are like, it's like, that's Joe. We know Joe. It's not an it.
Yeah, she's like, "Okay, take Joe, roll him up in the carpet." Yeah. But she's like, "Okay." So she's obviously has her suspicions, and she's totally fine with whatever this is that Father Hill has. She is totally okay with it because she sees it as a gift from God, because he's performing real miracles.
Yeah.
And she's covering for him. So she's like, daily masses aren't going to be happening while he's under the weather, so we'll have them in the evening when he's feeling better. That's how they progressed to the midnight part of it.
Right. Okay. Because to me, the show, like, it's I don't want to say it ever plateaus or goes down, like, whatever. I'm using the roller coaster analogy, as in, like, it's climbing and then fucking hits a max speed. That's kind of what I'm going for. So it doesn't go downhill. The show never goes downhill. I'm just saying the fucking speed of a roller coaster. As after episode 4, when it's after the AA meeting, Riley realizes that Paul has lied to him about Joe, goes back to the center, and but the angel is there, pouring his blood into a
Decanter.
decanter. Thank you. And it attacks Riley. Because most of the next episode is Paul and Riley in the center during the day, and Paul is trying to explain to Riley what he's become. That to me was when the show really like just fucking rocketed. Like I was like, I don't remember picking up my phone during any part after that. There were a few conversations that I probably got distracted and looked away or whatever for the first half of the show, but that from that on, I was like, the fuck, what's next? Am I making sense with that analogy? Jesus Christ.
Sure.
Well, one thing before we progress further, because I know what port you're leading up to, you haven't even mentioned Erin, the one of the two school teachers on the island, along with Beverly King. She's the other school teacher.
Yeah, because there's a lot.
She was Riley's childhood girlfriend. She had recently moved back to the island. She's pregnant. She had started going to mass, which was very uncharacteristic of her. But her and Riley had been reconnecting, and he had been spending lots of time at her place.
Yeah.
And on the evening of the AA meeting, when he realizes that during a moment he and Joe had bonded, Joe revealed some information about his sister passing a few weeks prior. And that was the lie that he caught Father Hill in, saying that, oh, Joe's gone to the mainland to visit his sister, so he won't be with us. He went to confront him about that, and that's when the vampire was there and attacked him.
We should also mention the thing about Kate and her baby.
Yeah, that is another thing they had been mentioning. Kate, you mean Erin?
I'm sorry, Kate Siegel's the actress. My bad.
Yeah, Mike Flanagan's wife.
Really?
Yeah.
I did not know they were married. I did not know that. That makes sense. I mean, she's yeah, that makes sense. Okay, because she's in like everything he's done.
Yeah, in episode 4, in that episode, she had learned that she had miscarried. Like she was 20 some weeks along, 20, 21, 22 weeks along, and everything had been checking out wonderfully, and then all of a sudden, her uterus is entirely empty. Like just, and she goes to get tested, and they're telling her on the mainland that there was no evidence that she was ever pregnant. And you know, after a woman miscarries for at least 6 weeks, there's still evidence in her blood that she was pregnant.
Right.
But yeah, so she was obviously devastated, and you know, because the baby had saved her life, as she had explained, because of the situation she was in and what it caused her to do. You know, and that was part of the bonding process between her and Riley. So the whole episode after, like when or during one of those episodes, he's telling her about his recurring dream that he has. He says, every night I have the same dream. And she's like, what's it about? He's like, I find myself sitting in a rowboat, and I'm on the water, and the sun's coming up, and then there's a bright light, and then I'll wake up. He said it never progresses past there. But he said, last night this dream was different. She's like, how was it different? He's like, you were there with me. And, you know, don't think anything of it. It's like, why is he having that same dream so vividly? I just wanted to bring that up.
No, it's important because there's a shot at the end of episode 5. Episode 5 is pretty much Riley and Paul inside the center, right?
Yeah, he goes to her. He goes to Erin, Riley does, to explain himself why he stood her up the previous night, why he's showing up almost 24 hours later, and asked her to go out on a rowboat with him to talk. And he's recapping the story of him and Father Paul in the rec center.
And she goes, I remember she says, like, let's say I believe you. Let's say that this entire story you're telling me is accurate. Did you just bring me out here because I can't get away from you? And he's like, no, I didn't bring you out here because you couldn't get away from me. I brought us out here because I can't get away. And that's when it dawned on me what he was doing.
Oh, yeah.
He was waiting for the sun to come up. Riley, being probably the biggest voice of reason in the show, decides, well, he doesn't want to be this vampiric puppet. And he waits for the sun to come in and basically kill him. And let me tell you, the heart-wrenching impactfulness of Aaron screaming during the credits as he's just turning to ash. Holy shit. Like I was sitting there in shock. Like legit, I was just like, oh, this is rough. Oh boy. Next episode, you want to start soon?
Yeah,
oh
that was brutal.
Very brutal.
Because they had just reconnected and just, confided in each other that they were in love with each other again, after all these years. And it seemed like he had finally found purpose in his life. He was slowly finding purpose with his life again after losing everything that he had. And, he seemed like he was finally headed towards a good place.
Yep.
And then, boom, here's the rug.
Yeah. And I'm just, it's rough to watch, but it's also 100% necessary to the story. It just makes everything come to a head. I like how the final shot that he sees is the girl that he killed so long ago looking normal. She doesn't look like she was in that wreck, and she extends her hand out.
Yeah.
Like he finally found peace. I was like, oh, it's fucking that beautiful tragedy. They just the symmetry. I just like fucking chef's kiss, Mike. Chef's kiss. I loved it.
Betty, do you have anything to add to this scene?
Betty? Hello?
No.
Oh.
No.
Well, let's dive into episode 6, which I'm genuinely trying to remember the differences between 6 and 7, because I think 6 was leading up to the mass that changed everything.
Yeah, it's going to be an Easter mass. It's the Good Friday before Easter, and Father Paul has promised the island that they'll see why it's a Good Friday, and promising them something even more miraculous than Lisa's recovery.
Yeah.
Basically, it's his plan to convert everybody into vampires.
Right.
But that's when Aaron goes back to the island, even though Riley begged with her to flee the island. She went back to the island to warn everybody if she possibly could. So she started with his family. And of course, they didn't believe him. Well, his mother specifically. Yeah. But then she warns others. And the only people that would believe her is the doctor, Sarah, and her mother, who is now looking younger than her daughter, Mildred.
Yeah, she had a glow up.
Absolutely.
I also like how those two and Aaron were basically like trying to figure out a way off the island. Meanwhile, fucking Father Paul is having I can't think of the characters' names, but having them sabotage the electricity and the boats on the island.
It wasn't him. that was having all the
Oh, was it Be-
sabotage
it was-
going on. It was Beverly.
That's right.
She was having the mayor and Sturge, get rid of the ferries for the day, disable the cell phone tower, any means of communication with the mainland, just unable to do it. Dismantling all the engines on the boats, for the most part, most of the boats.
Yeah.
There were still a few boats that were in operation.
Yeah. Mainly rowboats, if I'm not mistaken. Maybe some sailboats. I don't remember exactly. I just know
They
were
didn't
sabotaging.
specify what boats were left, but there were just a few that were still in working order.
Okay. Yeah, this all led to that midnight mass where just about everybody who was in the show had shown up, including Sheriff Hassan and his son Ali, who Ali was starting to show signs of, because of the miracles he was seeing, he was starting to become as Love Raul Cooley. His accent sometimes would come through like Christians. As all the Christians were doing, his son was starting to change faith, and that's when you get a lot of story about who Hassan is, with his wife, dying and how she died, and him moving away and wanting to get away from the mainland and just this really remote, quiet island, and why it's so important. Throughout the show, we see why it's so important to Hassan, why Ali is a Muslim. But there's also a speech by him in the school about how Muslims are people who want to seek knowledge. They're not terrorists. They're not people who want to just hurt people because they don't believe the same thing. Muslims are knowledge seekers, and something I've known for a long time, they do see Jesus as a prophet, but not the prophet, if that makes sense.
Yeah, that's
because that goes well to Muhammad. And I loved that so much. I love that speech. I loved how well he gave that to be the complete antithesis to Beverly's character. It was so fucking fun to watch. But in episode 6, he tells the doctor why he's not willing to search for somebody or whatever. Like why this is it's affecting him. But he ends up even going to the church with Ali because Ali says, "Dad, it'd really mean a lot if you came to this midnight mass with me." Yeah, this became a problem. Because at midnight mass, Hassan is upset by what he's hearing. He proceeds to leave. He grabs Ali. As he turns around and looks at the door, there's the angel.
Well, what was happening was she was having, she had Sturge, and keep in mind, all these people have been taking the sacrament,
which has the vampire blood in it,
which is basically the distilled version of the vampire's blood.
I assume they were mixing it with the sacrificial wine to make it not taste like blood. But.
Yeah. But what she had done was had him drink a shot of rat poison, and it killed him, and then he resurrected. And that's when he was like, "No, we're leaving," and that's when the angel was there in the doorway of the church.
If you want to call it an angel.
That's what I'm not gonna lie, like that's something I absolutely loved about this show was its depiction of something like that, and their minds forcing like this mental gymnastics to change it, to switch it into something religious to a Christian angle. I loved that they were calling this fucking vampire an angel. That to me was just a beautiful, brilliant turn that I cannot fucking compliment more. Because to me, that's a testament to being blinded by something like that. That you're so adamant about this specific thing that you can't see what it truly is. And that's what was happening here. And the only person who could see through that was Hassan. Not only character. That's incorrect. But the character at that moment was Hassan. And also a little note. I love that when they're vampires, whether it be a human or the vampire itself, the eyes glow.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
But it just looked like cat eyes, like you face the fucking camera at the wrong angle or whatever.
It's like the eye shine of an alligator in the night.
Yeah, there you go. Yeah. That's. I was just like, oh, that's such a good idea. Yeah. So right after that shot, like, a bunch of the characters take a shot of the poison. Sorry if you're hearing construction suddenly because someone's deciding to drill a hole in whatever. But yeah, everyone starts taking a shot of this rat poison. They start dying. And they get back up. But then they get that vampiric hunger. And chaos fucking ensues. Which leads us into episode 7. The final episode.
Well,
Is there a little bit more that I missed?
Yeah. Hassan had brought a gun into the church and pulled the gun on Father Paul, trying to get his son away. Ali drinks the fucking rat poison, and he had secretly been taking the sacrament, and he revives, and he's now a vampire. But in the chaos that ensued, Mildred grabbed the gun that was knocked to the floor when people tried to wrestle away from Ali, and she shot Father Paul right through the head. And that's when the angel attacked and grabbed her and swooped her out into the night. And that's when Bev took over.
That's right, yeah. I don't remember. Is it the end of episode 6 when we see I almost call her Kate again. Aaron shoot Bev?
Mm-hmm. That's the end of episode 6.
Okay.
She's like, they're locked in, they're getting ready to run out, and she's like, you only have 5 minutes. She's like, shoots her, and she falls dead to the floor. She's like, you heard her, we've got 5 minutes. And they all turn and run.
Yeah, because episode 7 is the chaos is now all over the island. And all the people who had come back as vampires, including the ones who didn't drink the poison, but then were killed by the other people turning into vampires, came back as vampires. And they went around the island pulling others out of their houses and feeding on them and possibly turning them into vampires. Not everyone, obviously. There was a bit of a line towards the end of episode 7 where one of the guys shows up and says, like, I killed my wife and my son, and
like you could have brought them back. He's like, what?
Yeah. So it's assumed that not everybody on the island got to come back, but during this chaos. But during it, Hassan, Aaron, the doctor's mom, drawing a blank on names, they're all holed up.
Sarah and Mildred.
So yeah, they're all holed up in a house with Lisa and Riley's younger brother,
Warren,
and Ali and Hassan. What's that?
Warren.
But anyway, they're on a house together.
And Riley and Warren's mother.
Oh, that's right. Yes, you're right. Sorry, I forgot about that. Yeah, because Riley's parents fought off the other zombified people. I forgot about that. I didn't forget about it, but in the moment of trying to remember everything that happened in episode 7, I forgot about it. Anyway, just speed this up a little bit. It's a bunch of chaos around the island, and Bev instructs a bunch of the people to start burning all the houses. During this, she decides that she's going to make the Pruitt Center a safe haven from the sun, so everyone can sleep during the day or whatever you want to call that after everything was said and done. Meanwhile, all the other characters that are not vampiric have gone around the island to make sure that they don't have a place to be saved by the sun. They start burning.
No, they start burning the boats. They're not worried about that. They start burning the boats so they can't get to the mainland.
Well, that's what Lisa and Warren were doing, because Hassan and Sarah were trying to burn the church and the center.
Yeah, they get to that point, yes.
Like I said, I'm just trying to speed this up because we're already going hell along in this episode. But what I loved about this was a few of the characters, like Riley's parents, hadn't killed anybody. They were vampiric. Mm-hmm. They had the hunger, but they refused to.
They wouldn't get into it. Yeah,
which I loved.
Ali was the same way, Hassan's son.
Yes. So in the final moments of the episode, the last remaining place that is available is the Pruitt Center. The church is burning in the background, and but that's the final place. And Hassan was like dumping gas on it, and Bev shows up with a gun and shoots Hassan in the leg. And as this conversation is happening between them, Hassan says, like, I'm not the only one, or something like that, or you missed something. I don't remember the words he used, but then it shows Aaron coming out of the center pouring gasoline as well. Keep in mind, in the church, by the way, before it burns, Father Paul and Mildred.
Sarah. Yeah, they're on the steps of the church. They were having the conversation, and it's revealed that they used to have an affair back in the day, and Sarah's their love child.
Yes, that's what I was getting at. And Sarah's standing there, and as they're like talking to Sarah about like, good, do it, like burn the place down or whatever. That's when the other dude with the beard, what the fuck was his name?
Sturge. He
shows up and shoots her. Essentially sealing her fate, killing her. She doesn't die immediately, obviously, but yeah. So right after Paul and Mildred are like mourning the loss of Sarah, don't they burn the church? Like they drop a torch or something? I don't know.
They had the ladder that she had, and he picks it up and throws it in.
Yeah.
Or no, as they're leaving, she actually knocks a lit candle over.
That's what. Yeah, that's
nonchalantly. Just nonchalantly.
Yeah. So the church is burning in the background, and Hassan is shot in the leg, and there's a conversation between him and Bev, and she shoots him in the gut. At this time, Aaron walks out and is like about to throw a lighter onto the gas, but the angel comes out of nowhere and swoops her up. As the angel is feeding on her, you see her pick up a knife and start slicing his wings. Slicing into the webbing between the wing joints.
The membrane.
The membrane, yeah. And I was like, oh, that's awesome.
And he tries to, like, he's so consumed by his hunger, he looks briefly at his wings as she's cutting into him, and she just grabs him by the back of his head and pulls his head back down to her neck.
Yeah.
That was nicely done.
But
she turned his wings into Swiss cheese.
Yeah. And I don't remember how the center starts burning. Something
Ali picked up the lighter that Aaron had and had dropped, and Beverly's like, "Step away from there now, son." And he's like, "Toss it," and lit it up, and that was the last building.
I think I cheered like super loud. I was like, "Yeah, fucking yeah!" By the way, in this moment, it should be very clear that Lisa and Warren have got a rowboat, and they're kind of coasting away from the island.
Yeah.
And so back on the island, everything's burning, and Beverly is like, oh, there's got to be a place we can hide from the sun. And the other guy was like, nope, you burned everything. You're the one that wanted to burn everything. And she's just kind of stood there and freaked out. And so the last shot of the show is the angel with his wings all sliced up, trying to fly away from the island and not making it. And Warren, I think Lisa says, like, do you think it can outrun the sun or something like that? And he was like, no, not with his wings cut, like not at that speed.
Not 30 miles. No, it's not going to make
No.
it.
And the entire island gets together and they stand in the middle of the town and they're singing a hymn. Meanwhile, Hassan and Ali go to the beach. Bev goes to the beach. And Hassan and Ali start praying towards Mecca. And the sun comes up and the island members start burning. The Bev starts trying to dig into the sand to get away from the sun, and she starts burning. And there's this really heartbreaking shot of Hassan on the ground, obviously dead from his gunshot wounds, while his son like starts to burn while holding his father. As the sun comes up on Lisa and Warren, you see this ash come over, like this, it kind of trails over to Lisa and Warren, and you hear Lisa say, "I can't feel my legs." And the show ends.
I love how, too, when the sun come up, all of a sudden the hymn just stops simultaneously. Everybody just...
Dead silence. You just hear burning.
Let's also discuss Erin's speech to Riley as she's dying.
Oh yeah, because as she's dying, because there was a conversation between them about what happens when you die, and Riley's speech was very like the same kind of things that I talk about as an atheist about what happens when you die, and hers was not about how she dies, but about what happened to her baby, and she never talked about what happens when she dies, and that was this speech, which was beautiful.
It was amazing.
Yeah.
I
completely forgot about that. Thank you.
Yeah, that was like the biggest moment of the show for me. It was beautiful.
Yeah, no, it was a perfect knot or bow on this wonderful show. But yeah,
do not watch this if you're looking for a happy ending.
No, it's bittersweet. It's definitely a bittersweet ending. And I say bittersweet in that, like, the vampiric virus was killed, essentially. So no more vampire. But
well, that strain of it. I mean, if there's one, there's more.
Likely, very likely. But for the case of this small island, it sucks that Lisa and Warren are the sole survivors. Good luck with that trauma, kids.
Yeah. Have fun explaining that one to the cops.
What cops? The only cop he's dead on the beach.
You think they're gonna go to the island or the mainland, and the mainland's not gonna be like, what happened to the fucking island that's burning out there? How come you two are the only ones that made it? What the fuck?
Because that whole Kool-Aid.
Remember that whole island was lit up like, I mean, fireworks, because it was all on fire. It was.
Do you think you would have been
somebody
able to see that?
saw that?
I was like, yeah. Do you think you'd have seen it 30 miles away?
Yes.
Yes.
Yeah, that's what
absolutely.
They would have seen
absolutely.
It. They would have
known. In a clear night, you can see a campfire, just a single campfire, probably 10 miles away, in open air.
Yeah. And that whole island, it was 100% burning. So, good Lord, I don't. Any other things that stand out in the show you guys want to talk about, or do we want to move on to grade? Because I can't.
I mean, we've spoiled the shit out of it, but there's so much detail that we didn't add in, so much that we didn't talk about or touch upon.
The show does a fucking absolute excellent job at fleshing out every single character that's important, and there are a lot of characters. So, yeah, I don't have anything else to kind of spoil about it or bring up other than final thoughts. So, do we want to wrap this puppy up?
Sure.
All right, Betty, why don't you start us off?
I definitely give it an A+. again, really didn't have a clue what it was going to be about. He brought in a lot of different story elements that I'm familiar with, but he definitely made it his own, and he did a beautiful job of it. And I'm looking forward to what he's going to bring to us next. So A+ in my book. What about you, Maya?
Oh, absolutely an A+. This show had me hooked from the get-go. Going into it completely blind, I had no idea what it was going to be about. Even seeing the one scene, I was like, okay, that tells me nothing. And then starting watching it, and at the end of that first episode, I'm like, okay, the intrigue is absolutely there. What's going on this island? And I watched it last Saturday. The entire thing last Saturday, Misty and I watched it. And I messaged Gregg, or he messaged me. He's like, I just finished the first episode. He's like, holy shit, this show's interesting as hell. I was like, I just finished it. He's like, you finished it already? I was like, well, yeah, I'm going to be busy the next few days. I didn't have time to watch it but today. And yeah, it's the tone, the premise. I've never seen vampires done in a cooler way. The character development, the background, the impactfulness is just, everything was top fucking notch. I love this show. This is one of the best shows I've watched in a while. Absolutely. And I hadn't even heard of it until last week.
Yeah.
So
You're welcome.
thank you. Yeah. But yeah, absolutely an A+. What about you, Gregg?
100% mirror what you guys said. A+ around the board. Like, if anyone wants to bitch and complain about Raul Cooley's accent on occasion, go fuck yourself. He did an excellent job. Like, I don't care if like his accent pours through a little bit. Look at the way he's emoting. Look at the way he's acting through those scenes. He took time and effort to make sure that the Muslim character was right. He's perfect, absolutely perfect. Or as in the last show that Mike Flanagan did, wonderfully splendid.
Perfectly splendid.
Sorry. But yeah, like you said, Maya, I've never seen vampires done in this way, and I love that the idea. Something for me that I just adore about this show is that it took kind of fanatical Christian attitudes and tied it into this vampiric sort of thing, and I loved it. I was like, I want to see more of that. Like, I love vampires, but I hate the vampire stories where it's like Christians are the only thing that can beat vampires. Like, that's okay. It's
part of me was secretly rooting the entire time that this vampire was fucking Jesus.
Oh my god, that would have been awesome. But I'm like, again, A+. I can't fucking say good enough, and I can't stress this enough. Like, if you listen to us talk about this show and we have spoiled it for you, I can't. That's on you. I'm sorry. Like, this show is so much better without going in knowing anything. It really, really is. I can't imagine having known what I know now going into it, having enjoyed it as much. Genuinely.
You're not a guy that usually lets spoilers affect him in any way, so yeah, that's saying something.
That's saying something, 100%. If you told me the plot of this last week's episode of Why the Last Man or What If, wouldn't have cared. Would not have cared. Would have probably still enjoyed it the same way around. Not this show. It would have diminished in quality a little bit. And I say a little bit in that it's still unbelievably well done. People have asked me, like, how does it compare to Mike's other works? And I'm like, it's his best work by far. It's his best work by far so far.
And I love The Haunting of Hill House. And I love The Haunting of Bly Manor.
Yep.
But this blows both of them away.
Out of the water. 100%. And the other thing I really like about it is it's a horror story that has almost no jump scares.
The only one that got me was that Molotov cocktail coming through the window.
See, I
wasn't expecting that. It made me jump.
The two things that made me go, oh, was when Father Pruitt was in the or Monsignor Pruitt was in the cave, and it like showed up in front of his face and roared and like screamed. That got me a little bit. And when it leaped at Riley, that got me. Other than that, I didn't really jump at anything. But like, you want a perfect jump scare? There's one in Hill House. That's a perfect jump scare.
Mm-hmm. In the car.
The one that made me almost poop my entire jeans. Oh my God. Like, I was talking to my buddies last night because my buddy Mark had just watched Hill House, and I said, so what happened when you were with the scene with the two sisters in the car and Nell was in the back seat? And he was like, oh, like me and my fiance, like fucking, like I almost choked her out. Oh my God. But I can't say enough good about this show. It's unbelievable. Like I saw it getting 10s and 9s across the board, and I was like, wow, it's that good, huh? It's that fucking good. It's really that fucking good. It's a rare occurrence on this podcast that all three of us give a show an A+.
It's never happened before.
It's that rare. So that also I think speaks volumes. But yeah. Anyway, this is a 2-hour podcast. So that's a thing. So we're gonna wrap it up, guys. Next week we're gonna be talking about the finale of What If and the sixth episode of Why the Last Man. We got nothing else because part of the show is going to be about our anniversary. This will be our 4th anniversary doing this podcast. There's something special we have. We're not going to spoil it yet, but you're not going to want to miss it. And it's going to be a better visual thing than it will be for the listeners, but it'll be good.
You absolutely will want to watch the YouTube version, and all 3 of us will be on camera.
Yep. I'm excited. Mostly excited. Well, yeah, mostly excited.
I'm absolutely excited.
But I don't want to say. I don't want to say what it is yet. So yeah,
I'm just going to say one thing. I remember MagFest, so I'm absolutely excited.
Oh boy, it's gonna be a good one. You're not gonna want to miss it. Everybody, make sure you check out all of our socials down below. That's where you'll follow us if we add anything to the podcast, which we will not next week, but in the future. Go follow the Twitch channel, my Twitch channel, ChubRockGeek, twitch.tv/ChubRockGeek. I know I keep saying it. We will do it eventually here. We're going to start streaming Jackbox again for at least a while because the next one's coming out in the middle of October, so we definitely want to get into that. And go check out the Teespring store. I know that we're going to have stuff coming into the fall and winter season. So if you want something to keep yourself warm, I'm sure we have something there for you. And check out the YouTube channel. Like we said earlier, next week's episode you're going to want to watch at least the beginning of it, probably the entire hour, if I'm being honest. So that'll be fun. So go subscribe to the YouTube channel. And give an episode a like. Give it a comment. It helps with the algorithm, helps us out, yada, yada. Other than that, I don't have anything in my notes. Maya, where can folks find you?
You can find me on Facebook under my name, Maya Dawn Fisher. It's a public profile, so feel free to follow me. Hit me up with a message. Friendly chats are always welcome. If you want to follow me on Instagram or Twitter, you can do so on my Facebook page. Those are linked to my profile. Easiest way to find me. If you want to catch me on other shows, I'm involved in 3 other podcasts on the Realm of Collectors YouTube channel. The alternating Wednesdays at 9 p.m. Eastern on Shelf Gravy, which is a creative themed podcast where we make dioramas, paint, build, various things involved in the creative process, and explain processes and answer questions from the live audience and things like that. Also, if I could say things like that even more, I will. On Fridays at 9 p.m. every Friday on Nerd Life Syndicate, where we talk about all types of news from the pop culture and entertainment industries, being from movies, TV shows, comic books, toy announcements, things, other things of that nature, and sometimes sports talk like last week. But hey, that's everywhere where you can find me. What about you, Betty?
You can find me on Facebook under Betty Badger Ogletree, and you can find me on Twitter under Bright Betty. Greg?
You can find me under Chubrock Geek under all socials. Also, haven't done anything with Anthony in a hot minute for the Mission Start podcast stuff, but that's also because he's building a new PC, so that's why I haven't heard from him. But eventually we'll get to that, so I'll talk more about that in the future. But we have other past video game-based stuff if you want to check that out. I did a review on It Takes Two, which Anthony did a great edit on, so if you want to check that out, it's Mission Start Tubes. But other than that, I have nothing else going on except this podcast and watching things. Everybody, thank you for listening again. The finale of What If, episode 6 of Why the Last Man, and something very, very, very special you're not going to want to miss. I promise you it is very good. At least I hope it will be. Maya is extremely excited, and Betty's a little scared, but it'll be good. But yeah, that's it, everybody. We'll see you next week.
All right. Peace, love, and polypops, everybody.
Take care.